All of us are a crucial part to 24 hours of reality, and to prove it, we've been posing your questions to all our remarkable guests during our interactive town halls. And right now, I'm thrilled to moderate our town hall with a singer-songwriter and environmentalist who's become a powerful and meaningful voice in our world. Jason Mraz, thank you so much for coming.
You got it. Thanks for having me.
So, can you tell me, when did you decide to put that beautiful voice of yours to good work?
Early on, when I was a kid, I was performing. I loved seeing the reaction I would get out of my listeners, whether it was my family or my friends. And then as I went through my career and I noticed the audiences were getting larger, that whatever was going on in my life that I felt was having positive results, I found that those messages were becoming medicine in the music. So of course, as I start to fall in love with my environment and see the little things I can do to better it, that ends up kind of finding its way into the music as well. And I do my best not to tell people what to do, but live by example, sing what I'm living, and people drink down those melodies, those sweet melodies, and don't realize they're getting a pretty powerful elixir in there as well.
When, or do you even remember your aha moment, that moment when you said, oh wow, all of us are connected, and I really need to start thinking about this more?
Well, I think I felt that when I was a little kid. I was very lucky to just feel like connected to something bigger. But when I became a homeowner about 10 years ago, I started to notice the trash that was going out on my curb. I was like, wow, okay, that's my waste, that's my trash.
And when you see it, you're kind of like, whoa, wait a second.
Exactly, like those are things I bought. I'm responsible for where that goes. I started to notice my energy consumption, notice my bills. And this is very true stuff. I don't want you guys to think that I'm talking about my electrical bills all of a sudden. But I also
But it's true, and something everybody deals with.
Exactly. So I'm a touring artist. I start to notice how much waste there is on a day-to-day basis, on a tour bus, in dressing rooms, on movie sets, etc. All this stuff. There's a lot of plastic water bottle waste. There's a lot of non-recycling. And so I thought, well, I'm gathering people together to my shows. Just like I can be responsible for my backyard, for my home, for the energy in my home, I can also be responsible for my energy at my shows. So it were these little steps in my life where I just knew I needed to be responsible for my own environment. And my environment's always changing because I travel a lot, so.
Well, I wanted to ask you, this is a great Twitter question that we got. And it is, do you believe that climate change should be a part of the educational system?
Definitely, definitely, because our educational system is designed to not only teach our kids how to learn our histories and learn our maths and sciences and make the best use of our minds and our talents, but also to be members of our community, to be very conscious, contributing members of society. And so it's important to have up-to-date science and up-to-date policies in our classrooms so that kids can know how we're actually treating the world. Are we living in balance, or are we out of balance? Or are we doing things that are making our societies worse?
Do you see that in some of your younger fans, that passion,
Oh, definitely.
that love for the environment?
Definitely, and I get letters from people all over the world that love putting little community groups together, making a difference in their own home, convincing their parents that it's time they start recycling, convincing their families that maybe we should look into this solar thing after all. It's very cool.
I have to admit, the gift of nag that a child can do to their parents
Absolutely.
is worth its weight in gold.
Absolutely.
Your kid comes home, Mom, we need to recycle. Dad,
Yeah.
we need to turn off the water when you brush your teeth. It really does make change.
Exactly, and I feel like I'm becoming that kid too, because I have parents that I'm inspiring as well, and I don't have kids yet, but I can already see the world that I want them to grow up in, and so I want to prepare my home and be ready to bring them up in a place that is sustainable.
So what are some of the things that you do and some of the things that you think other people can do at home to make their life greener and their bills cheaper?
Well, interesting, because green to me has only brought savings into my life. I made the solar investment about 8 years ago, and I have a photovoltaic system that powers my home.
8 years ago.
8 years ago.
Wow.
So, the costs were a little higher then, but
Yep.
California was giving incentives for people who went solar. It pays for itself within 5 to 6 years because you don't have an electricity bill. You're basically paying all your electricity bills up front, and then after that, you're just getting energy from the sun. And it's remarkable. So there's a huge savings there. You can obviously heat your water. You can do a lot of wonderful things with solar. Recycling programs are great. Composting is great. Planting an edible landscape is great. If you have any room to grow any types of food, whether it's a balcony or even a countertop in your kitchen, it's not only great for your health, but you can supplement your grocery bill with food that comes right from your yard. And if you don't have the time or the yard to grow, a lot of communities now have community-supported agriculture, CSA programs, where you can eat food from your zip code. And that's a ton of fun because you get a farmer's share. You pay $20 to your farmer a week, and he gives you whatever's growing on. I call it "there grows the neighborhood," what's growing on.
I love that.
So yeah, that's just a few things you can do to offset your bills and participate with the resources that are readily available.
We started composting, and it took a little while for me to get a hang of it. It was too wet and it was too dry. But once I got the hang of it, it's so easy. And honestly, when I do take trash out to the curb, there really is hardly anything in there. I mean, there's so much food waste that we have in our homes.
Exactly.
It's almost kind of scary.
Exactly. So those who are wondering, what is composting? Composting is an opportunity to take all of our food scraps and our organic waste and basically turn it back into rich, nutritious soil. We can put it back into our gardens, into our yards. We can put it around trees and basically refeed the soil. And over the last few decades, we've accidentally mined a lot of carbon out of our soil through industrial farming, through chemical fertilizers. If anyone out there is spraying Roundup weed killer in their yards, please stop, because it's horrible for your health. It's cancer-causing agents. And it destroys the soil. And there's so many amazing microorganisms that live right in our soil that thrive on carbon, that need the carbon to come back out of the atmosphere, back into the soil, and can greatly reduce how much carbon is in the atmosphere. And then that soil is going to produce amazing quality of trees, amazing foods, because like I said, we can plant food in our yard, a variety that grows year after year. You can look into edible landscaping. That's an amazing and fun project. Plant some fruit trees. They give you fruit for decades with very little effort. So.
And it's also something really fun to do with your kids. My niece and nephew, they tended to be picky eaters, and my sister did a little edible garden in their yard, and for the first time, they watched a zucchini grow. They knew they didn't like zucchini, but they wanted to eat that zucchini because they grew it, and so it was a great way to actually get them to eat their vegetables too.
Yeah.
And a good project.
And a great project, a lot of fun.
What else? When you're on tour, I can't imagine, you're always roaming. There's a lot of things that are disposable that you need. So what are some of the things that are really important to you when you're on the road?
Well, I always bring my own water bottle for cold water and hot water, because everybody likes a cup of coffee, and I drink tea 10 times a day. So I've had a hot mug that I've carried with me for the last 8 years. And I have a water bottle that I refill. I drink New York City tap water. I'm not afraid of my water. Plus, I feel the more demand there is for our public water, the better chances we are of constantly testing that water. I don't know who's testing plastic water bottles. It's like that company who's bottling it is testing it themselves, telling me it's okay. Plus, when sunlight hits those BPA water bottles, I know there's chemical agents getting into that. So I prefer carrying my own water bottles, hot and cold. I bring my own tote bags, so when I'm out in the world buying souvenirs or grocery shopping, I'm not taking plastic bags. And those are very, very small steps, but they save me tons of money a year because I'm not purchasing extra things.
Have other artists asked you about this? Do they see your example and say, oh, wow, we can do that?
No, but that's only because I live in my own little bubble, and I think artists do. But I learned it because I asked a group called Reverb, and Reverb is out there to help artists and bands green their tours. And so they'll link you up with biofuel in all your cities. So we have biofuel trucks that come out to our buses and fill us up before long drives because we can't rely on biofuel stations on the highway. So Reverb helps us link up to those. They help bring in water refilling stations for our fans so we don't have to purchase plastic water bottles at concession stands. We can refill our own water bottles, etc.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, so there are, and I want to shout out to the band Guster because they actually founded Reverb, and they've helped a lot of bands like myself and Maroon 5 and Jack Johnson and Dave Matthews Band green our tours and really make it a better experience for our fans.
That's so great. Honestly, I love that. Okay, I have another question from a fan.
Yep.
Love Back to Earth.
Okay.
What are your favorite songs ever written about the environment? That's a tough one.
First one I can remember is "It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood, a beautiful day for a neighbor." Second verse, "It's a beautiful day in this beauty wood, oh, a neighborly day in this beauty wood." And that to me was this song about your neighborhood. I mean, that's your environment. You want it to be clean. You want it to be available for you to be outside, playing outdoors. I remember also Louis Armstrong, "What a Wonderful World." I see trees of green, I see red roses too. Any song that says, you know, another song, "Blue skies, nothing but blue skies." Any song that acknowledges the existence of our blue sky, of the world outside of ourselves, to me is a song that requires the inspiration of the environment in order for that song to have been written. You know, so like Mr. Rogers is probably the very first song I can remember. It's still one of my favorites. Yeah.
Do you write songs and lyrics better outside than you do inside?
I'm going to say I have more fun writing outside. I have written a lot outside because I did stumble onto my own little avocado orchard. I've built a studio right in the middle of the trees, and I spend a lot of time outdoors or leave the doors open.
Wait, I'm sorry, you built your studio
I did.
in the middle of your avocado farm?
I sure did. And in fact, at the beginning of Back to the Earth, you hear the roosters and chickens, and those are our little backyard chickens that help compost our kitchen scraps and give us eggs. And I've written a lot of songs. In fact, there's a few songs on my new album, that have, you hear the bird chirp, so you hear the sound of the rain, and the environment has had a huge effect on our sound. I even had an experience where I would go and sit on my porch writing each day, and every day at the same time, a hummingbird would come and sit on the tree and sing and listen for 20, 30 minutes at a time. And it was pretty remarkable,
You had a song friend.
I had a song friend, and that would be a gauge for me to know if I was on the right path with my melody, you know, if I was really tapping into something that was in harmony with nature. If this little bird could come over and be a part of that experience, then I figured it was special.
I feel like that is going to be the cover of your next album, is going to be that little hummingbird.
It should be. It should be. Yeah.
Just so you know.
Some respect. Yeah, I should give him some honor.
You know, as an artist, who are some of your heroes?
Al Gore.
Yeah.
You know, he's a public speaker. He came from the political world, but an unlikely person to inspire an artist. But when I saw his film and when I see him speak, there's an arc to his storytelling. There's an arc to his message giving that is the same as someone who's singing a torch ballad. They're going to have highs and lows. There's a real passion there, and there's an unwavering passion. After decades of resistance, of people denying climate change, for him to still stand up and be passionate. So he's actually been a huge inspiration for me. I've also gotten involved in Farm Aid over the last few years. And so to see the founding fathers of Farm Aid, like Willie Nelson, Neil Young, John Mellencamp, Dave Matthews, and all the other artists that participate, Wilco, year after year, I wanted to join that family and speak up for the family farmers who have been edged out by industrial farming. I wanted to speak up for the organic farmers who can actually help reverse the climate crisis. And so those guys were playing music all my life or throughout my high school years. And I said, I want to be not only a great musician, but a musician that has a voice and that makes a difference for others.
So sitting in your avocado orchard, it would be an avocado orchard, not an avocado field, correct?
It's a grove. You
Okay,
could call
a grove.
it a grove.
Your avocado
Yeah.
grove. In your studio, doors open, your chickens, your birds. What's that sense of feeling you get sitting there? What emotion washes over you?
Awe. It's a lot of awe. Awe because I can't believe it's my own life. And when I moved in there, it wasn't an organic avocado grove. There were old practices going on. The trees were a little sick, I would say, and there were only avocado trees. There were no weeds or anything. So I'm in awe now because having transitioned to organic, which is basically just a commitment to no chemicals.
Yeah. Yep.
There is more wildlife, more bird song, more wildflowers, more fruit trees and edibles all over the place. We have olive trees, we have mango trees, we have lemon trees, we have lime trees, passion fruit, pomegranate, berries. So I sit there and I'm surrounded by all this green, which was the act of each season just planting one more thing. Very simply, just plant one more thing and watch it grow. And having had the patience to let it grow. And now being somewhat overwhelmed by how much fruit and food that I get every season, I sit there in awe. And I'm really grateful for the former me that decided I'm gonna plant this, I'm gonna do this. And it's overwhelming at first when you think, wow, it's gonna take me how long before I'm certified organic? And how long is it gonna take for this fruit tree to give me fruit? But time goes by, and I'm so grateful that I just put a little bit of effort in to plant that tree. And now when I'm sitting outside playing next to that tree and it's dumping guavas, that I have to put the guitar down and collect this fruit and make sure we're eating it, I'm in awe. I'm in awe of what the earth it will give you if you give to it. And I read a quote today too, that there's a psychological benefit that occurs for someone who gives. When you give to someone else or when you give to your environment, there's actually something that occurs in you that makes you feel better, that makes you healthier, that makes you more connected to love, maybe more connected to spirit. And obviously when you connect yourself to the environment, you get back also this amazing reward of cleaner air and cleaner food and happier animals. It's pretty awesome.
I can tell that you feel happier, you feel more at peace.
I do.
Do you feel healthier?
Very, very healthy. I grew up eating fast food. I grew up eating processed foods, fast foods. I didn't question where my food came from. That just wasn't in our
Me too.
culture.
Me too.
And so as a singer and someone who started surfing and being more interested in things that California had to offer, because I'm not originally from California, I kind of fell into it thanks to music. I found that when I ate foods that came from my local environment, and when I ate whole foods, nothing that came through a factory or through a process, that my instrument was performing better. I was having less sick days. I was, my ear, nose, and throat was a lot healthier. I could sing better. My breath support was getting better. I could sing longer. I could surf longer sessions. So all these things, I noticed a huge transformation in my life, thanks to eating mostly vegetarian diet, looking at whole foods. Not the grocery store, but whole foods,
Right.
meaning like an avocado.
The
It's
actual food in the form of the way it is
Yeah,
grown.
my body knows what to do with this food. It isn't made up of 9 different ingredients that my body has to say, okay, hang on a second.
Yep.
Let me store this here while I digest this and figure out what this is. you know, my body can just really use it as fuel. And so I am a lot healthier because of it.
My last question is, what's the biggest thing you do to reduce your carbon footprint? Because we know carbon is a huge problem.
Yeah.
So what is your number one thing that you think you do?
Number one thing, well, I started with the solar home.
Which is huge.
Which is huge. So I did a carbon test online, and I looked at all the areas how my life is lived, and like at home, I'm well above the curve. I'm super carbon negative, you know. But my touring and the energy that I consume touring makes my carbon footprint probably worse than anybody's in this room, because I fly 80 times a year. I bus travel, you know, there's a lot of travel going on. And so what I do is I keep track of my flights, and I have my own little system. I say, okay, for every domestic flight, I'm going to plant a tree. For every international flight, I'm going to plant 5 trees, times the amount of people that I'm traveling with. So if I do a tour of Southeast Asia and I'm traveling from country to country to country, just over a period of like 2 weeks, I've already gotten up to like 800 trees. Like, it's a very quick number because there's 20 of us on the flight. So I have days where I go out on tour where we interact with community gardens. We get people excited. We plant trees. We get people excited about organic regenerative farming. And then at the end of the year, say I've only planted 60 trees, I'll look to organizations who have massive tree planting efforts, and I make my donations according to my flights to offset my flights. So every year I'm planting thousands of trees.
That's great.
To offset my flights.
That's really great.
That's
flying
my little
is
thing
a hard thing to figure out. So
it's
I like
a
that.
hard thing to figure out, yeah, but it's what I can do. And it's actually easy to do. There's a lot of great, every city has tree planting initiatives, and there's a lot of great organizations out there. The National Forestry Program or Reforestry Program, I think it's the National Forestry Service.
Right.
Works in a lot of our national parks to replant trees. So you can do it in your own home state, or if there's a state that you love or a country that you love. Africa has a massive tree planting program. You can give your $1 to a little sapling.
And it helps support local people in those communities too.
Big time.
Yeah.
Big time.
Jason, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And my husband and I are going to come over for some guacamole. We'll help you eat those avocados.
Please do.